someone petitioned the OSP about certain donations that have been made by the former vice president of pickups.
Yeah.
What I told myself was that is not going anywhere, because even the government of the day is not going to support that.
If you go through a lot of the coverage around the Akutia by-election, you saw that, young people were demanding, openly, they were demanding money before they go to vote.
I feel that the risk to all this is we would have leadership reserved to the few, the wealthy, the elite.
There are campaign financing laws that needs to be firmed up. But even what exists, there's literally no enforcement of that.
Okay, so I came across the CDD report with its partners from the 2020 elections. It cost about $100 million to run a presidential campaign, that high-level presidential campaign. And then recently, Professor Kwesi Prempeh adjusted that with inflation and all the other factors and said in the 2024 election, that cost could have doubled to $200 million. For parliamentary election, it's also quite as high, nearly $1 million. So there's a big conversation about the increasing monetization of Ghana's politics. How it costs to be able to run an election. And today on the Youth Unplugged podcast, we are going into how expensive politics in Ghana has become, the campaign cost, corruption, and the law. And as always, this is brought to you by CDD as part of its Democracy Resilience Project. So as always, Jude Duncan is here and we're going to get into it. And then comfort. Is it comfort? Comfort. Okay. And then the rich man himself, David Quay. I mean, he knows a couple of things about running elections. He'll probably get to find out how much it cost him to do so. Big talking point. I mean, of course, CDD doing this with support from IDRC to be able to get young people to be interested in Ghana's democracy, be able to take their views on some of these very important matters that come up. And of course, the views we share here are own. They do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of CDD as an organization or IDRC that is supporting this project. $200 million. That is fascinating.
And also unconscionable, if you ask me, because
Ghana, 30 million citizens population.
But Kweku, let's be careful to situate this right. We are talking about an aspect of our democracy, not necessarily the democracy itself.
Yes,
so the right to vote is part of our democracy. Now the question is, how much would you quantify a democracy, right? You can't, right? Because it's what gives us our very existence as a people, and the freedoms and liberties that we enjoy. That being said, it's also important to note that if we don't check this, because you agree it's a problem, the downside to this is that what happens is the elected officials then do not necessarily represent the best of who we are as a people, because you basically make whichever office it is, whether it's the president, whether it's the member of parliament, whether it's the assembly member, we essentially make it open for the highest bidder. Now, we see a trend where people are being funded by all sorts of persons, most recently being heavy galamsey operators. Yeah. And we are told, according to experts and researchers within the space, that it's become like a cabal of a sort. So it's a major concern, because in my opinion, it threatens the very foundation of our democracy, where if we don't pay attention to it, we would have elected officials who are in office through legitimate means, in quote, but the motive and the purpose and the vehicle on which they rode to come into office, will be questionable. And now they'll be forced to then, observe or pay, go according to the bidding of whoever brought them there. So it's a very dangerous slope. And I dare say it's one of the quickest ways we can lose this really precious democracy that we have at this point.
I mean, big MC David Quay. I'm sure you got some of the $200 million. So I mean, maybe you took some gig to MC some conference for some political party, and then they paid you some very good money, and then you took it. $200 million. You took part of it. So
No, I haven't hosted any political event yet. And I mean, just like Jude is saying, it's really alarming for, a very small country like ours. Spending that amount of money is dangerous. And of course, the main issue that we need to recognize here is that there are people who are in the country who generally feel that, well, the only time that I get opportunities to directly tap into the politicians is during election period. The people come and promise me so many things. After election, I'm not going to see them again. So, if you want me to vote for you, who has the money to pay more? So, it is a system that we have created because the people now do not have faith in the leaders. And so, if a leader needs to be elected, the idea is that you have to pay your way through. And this is what is eroding, our confidence in our democracy. And it is something that we have been talking about. If you look at reports from, that has been conducted. The issue that people are losing trust in, a lot of young people are losing trust in leadership because the leaders come to power and they don't pursue the interests of the people. And it is because those who eventually win power do not win power based on the right means. They just pay their way to power. So they come and they know that, well, this community needs a borehole or water. But that is not what the financier is looking out for. The financier is looking out for money to construct some road that will last for 3 days and go back home with its $1 million.
Yeah.
So indeed, it's a problem that deserves careful attention. But we also need to look at it from the angle that the people are also part of the cycle. It is not only the politicians. The people are part of the cycle. And if you continue to allow this to go on, then it means that, now it appears that whoever has the money is going to win. But the problem is that it will now push our democracy under the bus, where it will not deliver results. And if democracy doesn't deliver results, you see a report that are saying that young people are not clamoring for coup d'etats and military rules and all of that. So it's something that deserves to
before Comfort, before she will speak, you look at, comparatively, look at Kenya, South Africa, a lot of money go into that. Nigeria in particular is on a very high side. Obviously because you also have a very big population and all that. Comfort.
Yeah.
Really, really fascinating stuff. $200 million to become president. That's a 2 billion Ghana cedi. That is if you do the exchange rate, you're 10.
Well, for me, I feel that the risk to all this is we would have leadership reserved to the few, the wealthy, the elite, and then it will be at the expense of capable people who are born leaders, people who can really do the work because of these financial constraints. Because, bringing it to grassroots, campus elections. I remember I contested for LSU vice president.
Yeah, you were my great.
Exactly.
And my boy, we're great.
Yes.
Daniel, right?
Yes.
Oh, nice.
And the amount of money that was involved. We had to
LSU.
buy LSU.
Just that building.
Exactly. We had to buy suits. We had to buy a nice suit. Because I remember we put up, how do they call it? Pull-up banners. And there were some ladies who were passing by and they commented that, no, this person's attire is nicer than this person. So I'm going to vote for this person.
Because of somebody's nice.
Exactly. Because of the suit that the person was wearing. So the point I'm trying to make is that we are sacrificing our democracy. We are sacrificing leaders, able leaders, at the expense of the people who have money to finance it, who have money to, campaign and do all this. So.
And I think it's very interesting because, part of this, of course, I suspect part of this $200 million goes into, like Baby Queen said, vote buying and all the other issues. Part of it also have to do with the mega events you have to be holding, renting venues, transporting people to places, sleeping in hotels, moving around the country, buying commercial placement on TV, radio every now and then. Of course, I'm sure part of this conversation would have to go to, state media and even private media giving fair opportunities for everybody and all that. But Comfort said something that was interesting to me, that this could really just be selling the democracy to the highest bidder. Because you can have all the rich ideas. If you can't fork out $200 million to run a successful presidential campaign, then please stay in your ghetto.
Let me circle back to something you started with, where the money goes to really. A large chunk of the money also goes to disenchanted, electorate who feel like they've received nothing from government, and for each reason they'll demand money before they go and vote. If you go through a lot of the coverage around the Akutia by-election, you saw that, young people were demanding, openly. They were demanding money before they go to vote. And it doesn't help matters when you hear senior government officials like the regional minister, for example, come on record and say that if they want transport or they want whatever, will pay. That's a clear instance of vote buying.
Yeah.
So, yeah, a lot of money, or a lot of the money we are talking about, is also paid directly. We hear about delegates, cash and all of that at the primary level, within political parties. But coming back to the question around, whether or not we are giving out our democracy to the highest bidder, we need to go back to what the Constitution says. You also talk about the fact that we buy the media. They buy the media to get placement. The Constitution is clear on who can donate to a political party in a build-up to an election. I think Article 55 or so talks about that, Clause 15. Then you have the fact that in our Constitution, again, it's stated clearly that state media should allow for the equal representation. But your guess is as good as mine when it comes to the implementation of it, right? And it's a different ball game when we want to talk about the effectiveness of even state media to begin with. Not too long ago, we heard about GNA and their struggles. I don't want to go into GBC, So there are major issues, and the issue has got to do a lot with campaign financing. We need very important reform, around the law. I've heard the senior EC official, Dr. Shiribo Kweku, who I'm sure you're familiar with, talk about the fact that 90% of political parties in the country do not have a very resolute, or they don't meet the standards of campaign financing. But it is an aspect, if you are being honest,
in fact,
has
the
been overlooked.
EC even has to regularly audit these political parties. They have to send their books over to the EC.
But that is not done. So, there are two things I think we should really pay attention to. We need reforms for the campaign financing law, and we need to really look at the EC's mandate. I feel like over the years, as a democracy, we've grown long enough to realize that some things work, others don't. One of the things that doesn't work is the expectation of the other responsibilities of the EC, right? So IPAC is great. We need to hear what the concerns are from political parties. But if you expect the EC beyond organizing election, bringing ballot paper, bringing booths, counting the thing, declaring to now come and, enforce campaign financing, I think is too much of a responsibility on them. And maybe we should look at another, state agency or authority. The NCC, I think Madam Kathleen Addy is trying to bring some fire into them right now. But I think they can look at that, right? They can be enforcing that. But that would also mean that we need to resource them. So, two things, Kweku. Campaign financing laws. We need to go back to it and really look what the law says. Look at what works for us and what doesn't work. Fine-tune it towards something more, workable. And of course, we need to really look at the mandate of the EC. I think certain things are far outdated. For a democracy over 30 years, I think we should come to the realization that some things won't work and we need to move past them.
I mean, it's very concerning.
Before you come here, I agree with Jude on that. But I think that for us in Africa, in Ghana particularly, the issue really is not about the laws. It's not about the non-existence of the laws. It's more about the application and accountability, enforcement, and then the transparency involved in them. So, of course, there are campaign financing laws that needs to be firmed up. But even what exists, there's literally no enforcement of that.
Yeah.
And if you take a critical look at this and you compare it to a country, let's say South Korea, which has a political fund act that regulates party financing, which literally bans any form of foreign financing of political parties. In South Korea, there's no foreign corporation can actually fund a political party. And only citizens can. And even the citizens, there's a cap as to how much you can even donate. And if you are donating past that threshold, you need to go and donate it to what we will have our electoral commissioner. So that it is
I get you, David, and I agree to an extent. The only place I try to part with is the fact that the enforcement is the problem, But who is enforcing it? You know, in a lot of ways, when it comes to campaign financing, it's the EC that's supposed to enforce it. And again, I've said that the EC doesn't have the capacity. So as part of the reforms, I'm hoping that we decouple the EC's responsibility of ensuring or enforcing.
EC is an entity.
Yeah, so take it from them.
That can have.
Take it from them. Take it from them.
That can have a department that is solely focused on that.
Yeah, but you see, they have so many pressing issues that makes them, you know, incompetent in also addressing this.
Because it has never been a priority issue
for them. So it's a fair argument to say that then now we should
make it a priority issue.
Yes, we should bring it back to the fore in public discourse, right? Let's ask questions around how can we make this work, and I think that is a great place to start. But I'm adding to say that in the future we should be probably also looking at making another state agency responsible for it and giving them the resources necessary.
I don't really agree because the people at the top are the same people who call the shots. So no matter what we do, even if we bring, look at.
And then you give it to city.
Can I say something? And it will not go against me since on record.
Fine.
So we created the office of the special prosecutor,
Yeah.
right? And then at a point, Mr. Akisia Jabrin, he taught me criminal law at Legon. At a point, I mean, this man stood on live television and he was lamenting.
Yeah.
Why? Because he felt like he was going after corruption and then the corruption was fighting back at him. So what's the essence of creating another state agency if the same people at the top would bring us back to,
you know, quickly reminds me of a conversation we've had before around the overbearing nature of the executive.
Exactly.
And you know, in a lot of ways we've said that we need to talk about the dictates of checks and balances, right? Institutions should work, not necessarily strong men and institutions, but strong systems, you know, and structures in place. Yeah, right, in a lot of ways. But when an institution is now overburdened, right? See, the process of organizing an election is difficult work. And that is why many democracies, especially in the sub-region, have not worked, because, or that aspect of that democracy has not worked. And I'm referring to elections because it's difficult work. It involves money, it involves logistics, right? It's difficult bringing all of it together. But the point is that beyond, you know, if you imagine having to conduct an election, and when you are done, you have to also go and check. And look, how many political parties do you have in the country?
They have various departments.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but they might even have departments, like you're saying. They might have people in the offices. But beyond that, it's not necessarily about the mere presence of persons showing up to say, I'm coming to work at the EC. It's about structure. It's about systems. It's also about capability.
So we can revise the structure.
So my point is that whilst the EC is overburdened with, you know, having to focus on delivering credible elections, an aspect of which is campaign financing could be spearheaded by a different agency. Then we now pay attention to making sure that this particular agent, I mean, I've not thought about, or let me say NCC, for example. They do good work in trying to, you know, civic education, all of that. They should be able to say, we'll be checking, or even law enforcement, because it's a criminal offense to not, you know, adhere to campaign financing laws, right? So we can have a department within a law enforcement agency say, our responsibility will be to go after political parties.
The office of the
OSP
can
you
be
see,
the
there is
but it will bring us back to the question as to whether
I still don't agree on this point. It's because, like you're saying, like she just raised the point. You have Ghana, for instance, like Comfort was saying. We have Ghana, for instance. We say we want UCO, we want CID, we want OSP, we want this.
I agree. We
all
have too many.
to fight election.
32 million people.
And none of these institutions really, the people have confidence in them that they are producing the results they want. And like I'm saying, in South Korea, it is the same National Electoral Commission that does party financing and ensures that whatever it has been stated in the law is followed.
I mean, if you look at the US first, I can see it in Ghana, and I can look at the data and look at whoever is donating to Trump.
How much is being donated?
How much that person is donating, and what exactly that amount of money was used to in totality. because after the election they will file it with the Federal Electoral Commission. And our laws, some of them modeled around some of those things. So I hear Jude on the need to perhaps give that duty to another body. But until we do that, why can't the Electoral Commission do that?
Exactly.
It's a capacity problem. It's a resource problem. It's also the system deliberately working against finding solutions, right? So across the political divide, no political party will be interested in making sure that such a law works. Why? Because it will come back to bite them. Yeah. So this government will be in. Of course, they have.
Just not to cut you, one point that I think fits into that is, I think last week or so, someone petitioned the OSP about certain donations that have been made by the former vice president of pickups.
Yeah.
What I told myself was that is not going anywhere, because even the government of the day is not going to support that, because they know if they do,
they're complicit.
Eventually to come back to bite them.
Exactly. Because
I'm sure President Mahama or any person in the government may have made certain donations, and if you go down and track it, perhaps it will not meet the kind of revenue that person probably has.
So maybe my argument around it being led by a different state agency might not cut it, according to our panelists. But I think it's a responsibility the EC shouldn't be having to deal with. Once it has to deal with the enforcement of our laws. I think a state agency, mandated to deal with corruption and corruption-related activities can take it up, right? And we should see some punitive measures. She talks about the OSP, but we've been in this country where we've seen persons contesting for an office, and I'm referring to the Obuasi MC case. Yeah. He was seen doling out money in camera, You remember that case?
You remember the job in the MC?
That's
exactly went up to, and then the High Court threw the case.
Exactly the point. So, whilst I admit that it's a
so again, it comes
capacity
back. Do you
issue.
think that if it was an Iyoko, it could have succeeded?
It probably would have.
How?
But you see, again, the system is working against some of these things. So I admit that
so I think it's
at the end of the day, the buck stops with.
In Ghana, laws are selectively enforced.
Yeah. Didn't you hear a judge recently say that not all of us are equal
before that?
Exactly.
No, but that was irresponsible, right? And we had a lot of people condemn that. People say that it is a truism, but it's a reality.
It's a reality.
Not necessarily a truism, sorry, it's a reality for people, but not necessarily true. Yeah. But I see, my point is, and I agree, comfort, right?
Comfort. This name at the time we finish our time, we'll be dancing in our mouth.
Yeah, but you see, again, once a particular agency has shown a lot of incompetence with dealing with it, I don't think it's a wise approach to continually entrust them to be able to solve the problem, right? So I think that we need to look at getting another agency responsible for it. But Kokuda notwithstanding, a large chunk of this problem has got to do with the electorates, the mindset, the mentality, the sense of entitlement. Yeah. We are quick sometimes to lay blame back to the politicians to say that they are the ones who promise.
But is it really our fault?
Yeah.
It's a two-way.
You come having eaten the whole day, you come to complain and you deceive me. All of a sudden, you and I, all of a sudden, you are elected, you are a big guy in society now. You are driving a Lamborghini.
When I was in school and we used to be doing this pre-election surveys across the country, to understand what are the issues in each region and what the people are looking out for. It will interest you to know that some of the reasons why some of the political or candidates do not win election is because they fail to attend somebody's funeral.
Yeah.
And who's fault? Is that the fault of the elected official? Yeah, but that's the fault of the elected official. Not necessarily. It's a mindset and a cultural problem.
You know why that is a problem? It's a problem
on whose part?
Ahead of the election,
this
person is always at every single funeral.
So the problem then is not necessarily the elected official necessarily. It's cultural. Right? So we need to now find a way of sanitizing the system by saying that, see, what does the law say about the responsibility of a member of parliament? It is primarily to make laws, not necessarily doling out money, funding education, setting up projects and all of that. That is the job of the municipal or district assembly and central government to fix in the communities. But I agree, sometimes in a bid to win, they go out of their way to promise all sorts of things. But it is also because of the pressure.
Yeah.
Community members place on these elected officials. So you can't see. The emphasis will tell you.
We must not forget the fact that this issue it's critical for young people because in a very recent survey that was done by Musa Dankwa, it indicated that the majority of the citizens actually want young people to be leaders. And if you're looking at a campaign that is supposedly costing about 200 million, then it means that what the people truly want can never be realized.
Young
That's
people
a big problem.
I think that. I mean, you at 40 you can run for president. You are out of the youth bracket by just about 5 years. Which 40-year-old will have that
100 million?
With that connection to be able to rake it? And what this leads to obviously is corruption, invariably. Because he who calls the whatever is
the shots calls the piper.
Who calls the piper? Who pays the piper calls the tune.
Yeah.
So if somebody is giving you $15 million as part of a $200 million budget, and I suspect it is way more. In fact, I suspect that the $200 million is Prof being very conservative with the numbers, so that you don't really go way above board. But it's likely it's going to be way above board. And this contractor comes to you and say, "Listen, I need that contract on this road." Gives you $50 million.
Kumasi,
because he's factoring that $50 million he gave you into the price. That means the price is going to balloon.
Interesting.
And even if he does a very shoddy job, how do you call him out? Because the next election, because to be very honest, not to digress in a big way, one of the problems even Americans have with their politics is who funds. So if a certain lobby funds you, you can call them out.
Yeah.
Because that people give you money regularly during the election. So that definitely leads to corruption on a very big scale.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I agree. And it is for that reason that countries like South Korea don't want, outsiders to fund their campaign, because you want the people to really own their democracy and be able to hold their leaders accountable.
Yeah.
But how are you going to hold somebody accountable when you don't even know who gives the person power? The power is not even at the behest of the person. He doesn't control anything. He's like a tool, or it's like a pawn in the whole scheme of affairs. He doesn't have any authority. It is just a ceremonial position he's occupying. And it is a very, very big corruption related issue. You have all these roads that are being done that get destroyed in 3 days or 4 days and longer.
And these same contractors are getting the same
contract.
See, a law is only as strong as its ability to be enforced or how it's going to be implemented. So if we have a law that said that only Ghanaians should donate to a campaign, when we know that foreigners are actively, where we have the political class who travel days before an election to mobilize support from external, donors and all of that. It is very dishonest to now look back and say that we are capable of enforcing it as the constitution has clearly stipulated. So I'm so convinced beyond every reasonable doubt that we need to relook what the constitution says around campaign financing to accept the reality on the ground and see how we can make proper laws to accommodate it in a manner that the enforcement
can. Do we need new laws though? Come forward.
I don't think so, because we have the
because we have an
Anti-Money Laundering Act.
We have the OSP's Act.
And recently, was it?
But we need
name here,
and all these issues that come
up. And then I think one of the things he was being investigated for was money laundering activities and certain things. And this guy is a big financier within the MPP. So how did that go unnoticed till now? Somebody was a regional chairman.
Yeah, but you see the campaign financing law, right? And Kweku, I don't know, maybe you can help us. I'm looking at it right now, and I'm struggling.
It's not adequate enough.
No, clearly, it's not fit for purpose.
Yeah. I think if there will be a big struggle, because I don't think the politicians
are willing. And you see, my problem really is that because democracy is not delivering results, I feel the real problem is not about how much money people are getting. The real problem is that democracy is not delivering results. And so the quickest way to continue oiling democracy is by doling our money. But if democracy is delivering results, then it means that you can actually come to people and tell them that over the past, I mean, people can actually see that in 4 years since you were in power, you were able to do A, B, C, D.
That has improved their lives.
So that
so
you don't need to give you the vote to continue.
US, I mean, ordinary people are crumbling upon each other to donate any amount, $5 to a political
party.
Because they feel like this guy is delivering in a way that is tangible, directly related to my life.
But
so you
Ghana that people will deceive you and say that they've done some short code for donation that runs for like 1 week after 1 week.
And in fact,
that was don't know how much even they got.
Exactly.
You see, what I agree with you.
The political parties in the lead up to 2024, for instance, they held big events where they were raising funds. Who has been because the idea is that perhaps that is just a smoke screen to use the dark money.
Yes.
So that eventually they'll tell you that people donated it
and all of that. While I agree with David, let's not, be lost on the fact that, when elections are won in this country, that doesn't necessarily mean that it was solely on the influence of money, right? Because if that's the case, then I think with every general election or presidential election, the incumbent will win because they have access to unlimited, resources, and by that I mean funds. I think our electorate has also grown to a point where they are able to make decisions as to who they deem best fit to lead us.
You think so? When we are alternating,
and I think
MPP, NDC, NDC.
But it could have been MPP, right? So we've made some progress when it comes to the choice or the delegates seeing in between the lines and making a decision for themselves. That being said, I also agree that elections are local. So when you go on the ground, the issues differ from area to area and they base on that to vote. But we've also seen the rise of some people taking advantage of the system, using their deep pockets to infiltrate the space. In recent times, we've seen how members of parliament are able to fund road projects and you ask yourself,
where are you getting the money from?
Where are you getting the money from?
How?
So it raises the question of illicit money that is also probably in the system, right? So I agree with my very good friend that maybe beyond looking for somebody else to deal with or a different agency to deal with the campaign financing enforcement of what the law says with regards to political campaigns, election, we should get the law enforcement agencies. I'm not sure about OS because if I start right now, we'll use this.
I think it held so much promise, but it hasn't quite delivered.
So we need to look at another law enforcement agency that has the capability to enforce this.
And already existing one?
An already existing one. Not necessarily. I also agree with you when you say there are too many of them, right? Mm-hmm. And their mandates are all over the place. See, we need to probably even streamline them. Iyoko and Fake. They should be together.
Iyoko, Financial Intelligence Center, even OSP to a certain extent because they look at corruption and all that.
So there's even the police area and all of that. So if you're not going to merge them, then we should find one whose mandate is similar or aligns to, what the dictates of the campaign financing laws are and say that, see, you are supposed to do this. But while we give it to them, we need to make available the necessary resources and capacity building.
Yeah. So, Charlie, David, Jude, Comfort, big conversation about political party financing and the really incredible amounts of money that are to be poured into that. 200 billion. I mean, Breezy, you are very, financially very savvy.
Big man.
Oh,
he's a big man.
Every weekend he's doing some wedding or the other. He's getting people to dance. He's taking tens of thousands of cities. He's very rich. One double-breasted suits.
Because boys give you some small money.
Flying to UK and back. As I went Kaneshi, the way I go to Kaneshi is how I goes to UK.
Small money boys forgive me.
You're making a very good point. Before then, I got in. Wow. Ultimately, where do we go from here? Because I like Jude's point about we need to get an institution to do this job very well. Because if we don't fix campaign financing, my view is that you are not going to fix corruption. Never. Because it's at the heart of it.
Yeah, it's
Because
in it. It's
even if, imagine that somebody's running for MP and he's not getting support from anybody or for president. And he has to go and, if he was a rich man and he had $200 million in his bank account and he spent all $200 million to campaign to be president, what do you think he's going to do?
Yeah.
If he loses, he's lost.
Yeah.
But if he wins, he's trying to recoup
Yeah.
that $200 million back through fair or foul means.
Yeah, I think we could really, where we go from here is to strengthen our institutions too, and also, of course, as Judy is saying, fix the laws, firm them up so that they can actually deliver. Because when there are too much loopholes in the law, it's for that reason that we are calling for the constitutional review to really come up with.
Professor Kosi Prempe has
to-
a lot on his
to
head.
come
But
up with a lot.
you go to Facebook, everybody say GB is this. Kosi Prempe
Yeah.
amendment.
Yeah. So
He has to do a lot.
there's so much loopholes in the constitution itself that needs fixing. And if that is not fixed, it's the same thing with the party financing law. It also needs fixing. And one of the critical things that we also need to pay attention is the fact that, according to the Mo Ibrahim Index, democracy report, it indicated that Ghana has retrogressed when it comes to our belief in our institutions and our rule of law. The big question is that if you even strengthen these laws, the body that is supposed to ensure that this justice or this accountability is, but the people don't even have
Trust in
them because they have become highly politicized. So the issue is, we find ourselves in a very, very
double whammy.
deep,
Like
if not a quadruple one.
like a very, very deep pit. And the problem is just all over the place. The institutions that are supposed to ensure that these laws are enforced are enforcing. The one that is supposed to ensure that when you take and challenge the issues at the judiciary, it is also being meddled in all manner of political issues. So I think that where we go from here, like we are all agreeing, is to strengthen the laws, perhaps strengthen the capacity of the institution. I still believe that a department can be set up in the EC that is focused primarily on election financing, campaign.
Yeah.
If it is about staffing them, giving them the resource, let's just know that when you come to the EC headquarters, there's this department that doesn't meddle itself in any filing of anything. All you do is track and ensure that you know how much this political party had. If we also think that, we want to set up an extra or external institution to do that, all we have to do is to do what? Ensure that the institution is working. At the end of the day, that is what we will all be happy about. And if these issues are fixed, it means that the playing ground perhaps may become leveled, and young people like myself, yourself, will get the opportunity to really take up leadership.
It's really about the law, right? Because we've been reading this last week that the former French president,
Sarkozy,
has been jailed 5 years for what? Campaign financing irregularities, right? So imagine that somebody of his stature like that in Ghana is jailed. How dare you, the member of parliament or a DC?
We find ourselves in a country that people are arrested and because of corruption-related issues, and then political parties go and
mass
call
up and all of that.
mass up their followers to go to
my point is that while we talk about the law taking its course, right, we should also talk about how other arms of government and other institutions should also rise up to the task, right? We should have a very brave judiciary. We should have a very brave
when you are
legislature
nominated by the president.
Yeah, so then we should
review.
So whilst we make progress in this, we need to look at how we can make the other arms of government very strong in a manner where they are not bending to the executive too much, so all of these influences come up again. Because imagine a very strong judiciary that is able to take on some of these issues and rule irrespective of which government is in power. I think would have made very significant progress. And
Yeah.
even on that, you'd agree with me.
Well, for final words, I would beg to differ a little.
Oh my God.
So for me, so for me, I would say that we should work on ourselves as individuals.
All right.
My brother David kept on talking about culture.
The way our brothers owning you.
That's the point I'm trying to make.
The way our brothers owning you.
Your brother already-
Charlie, the brothers own somebody.
You all the way. This is where you position me.
So,
Bro.
I feel like we are people first before we branch into politics, civil society organizations and all that. So if we want a better Ghana, it begins with
It
us.
starts with us. True.
Exactly, because during elections, 2024 elections, student groups
You saw this.
demanding transportation to go to their homes and vote. Make
Yeah.
me GB. Like we wanted transportation to go home and vote.
Where do you
get
vote?
it? My hometown. But
Where do you vote?
How
Leave me alone.
how much did it cost you to go back to
No,
where you
I
vote?
transferred it to.
You transferred the vote.
So I voted on campus.
But you took their
Anyway,
money.
I didn't take.
But the money was coming. The money was calling you.
That's how I reported
I
it
look
to
that
you.
way. So yes, I mean, if we are able to change who we are, our perspectives and how we approach certain things, it's not everything that we can blame politicians.
Yeah.
Sometimes the problem is us.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, right now, I would ask you to pick this up. You left this one on the floor.
Yeah.
Who left it on the floor?
I think it's David.
Uh-huh.
No, it's not my.
So if we all cultivate that habit of
Mindset revolution.
exactly.
Yeah. So quick one before we go. I just want to take very quick, maybe 20, 30 seconds if you can do that for me. One way people say we can deal with this is for state to fund the entire process, including the campaigns of everybody that is running. State funding of all political activity. So that way, political parties don't have to go and struggle and say, I'm raising some revenue somewhere. The state is funding everything. The vehicles you go and use, the food you go and eat, the hotels you sleep out on the campaign, the northern regions or down south, wherever you go. State should fund it. Easy. 30 seconds.
I mean, for that, it's practically it's not
Yeah,
it's not
it's not
possible.
practical.
I mean, the state is too burdened with so much. But of course, you can take cue from German system.
Yes.
The German system has the state funding a portion of the campaign, and also the donations and whatnot also coming to add up. And in fact, just very recently, I think in 2021, South Africa also has come up with an election financing act that is supposed to allow the government to fund the political parties based on the numbers that you have in parliament and all of that. So I think that we can strike a very fine balance indeed for the state to fund up to a certain percentage and then regulate how much else is coming in. In Germany again, when it comes to even TV advertising, there's some quota and support where everybody have the opportunity to run ads and things on TV regardless of which political party. And all that is to ensure that
the international people, they go to UK, then Europe. So look at the way they are talking about Germany. Come from.
As the local people. Okay.
Ah.
So from a local perspective, I would say Kweku, that's not feasible.
Yeah.
Because we have a lot to do in terms of education, roads, even good drinking water.
Yeah. So let's just assume that, well, let's just use Prof's baseline 200 million, and there are 6 political parties to fund. That is $1.2 billion on the budget of the state.
How much
We
did we go to
could be using that
How much did we
exactly.
go to
I guess
IMF?
around 3 billion.
Exactly.
Or we could be using that to fix all schools and create.
Exactly. So if, as I said early on, if we have fixed our mentality, and I'm not demanding that, since I started school, my mother has been funding all my tuition.
Yeah.
No scholarship from anywhere. Meanwhile, I was very bright.
Oh.
But I didn't get any scholarship, and I'm not blaming them.
But your cocoa farm in
Which cocoa farm?
in Kwada, so in Asante, didn't you go for cocoa scholarship?
in fact, Judo can even fund you.
No, Jude is the richest guy.
Behave yourself. Behave yourself.
So as I was saying, I think if
That
we
is
fix
not-
ourselves, we will not put that burden on any presidential or parliamentary candidate for them to spend that whooping amount of money and
Brilliant.
it
So,
will resolve the
listen,
issue.
this is a big conversation. I'm sure it's going to go on and on and on because you see, political party financing is such a big part when it comes to ability to fix the canker of corruption. I mean, This has been Youth Unplugged.
I thought you come for my final
No, I'm not giving you any more. You can truly see that we have been unplugged. And it's kind courtesy CDD under the Democracy Resilience Project supported by the IDRC. Incredible work. We're going to keep coming around the table with very important conversations that matter to young people, because now young people want to take their country back. They want to be involved in the decision making and the kind of things that affects them in all the things to do. Youth Unplugged, my name is Kwekwa Sensei. Jude has been here, and then David Quay, the brother of Camera. So we'll see you again. Yeah, we'll see you again when we see you.